on. Hey, Bob. Good afternoon and welcome to the Rotary Club of Madison. My name is Paul Hoffman and I'm the club president. It's a lively group today. Yeah, awesome. Great to see so many people here today. Thanks for coming out. Today's meeting is sponsored by Ann Cardinell and Bob Winding of First Weber Group, and our thanks to their support for today's luncheon. Thanks, you guys. Appreciate it. Saw him here before. All right, well, we'll open up our meeting like we do by reciting the four-way test together of what we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will be beneficial to all concerned. Great, thank you for that. So please remain standing for our opening patriotic song. Peter Gray will lead us in singing our national anthem with Casey Elkers on the keyboard. Peter?
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Casey. We appreciate that very much. And now I'm going to invite up Joy Cardine, who's going to introduce our guests. Joy just made it back from a big trip to Australia and New Zealand, so it's nice to see her back. Hi, Joy.
Good day, everyone. Good to be back. Will our guests today please stand and remain standing so we can recognize you as a group? Jonathan Berry is a guest of Fred Mose. Corey Davis is a guest of Amber Franz. Michelle Dubus is a guest of Laura Gallagher. Nathan Jacomson is a guest of Amber Franz. Oi Komavang is a guest of Ann Cardinelli. Shaban Lotfi is a guest of Joyce Bromley. Jean McClellan is a guest of Julie Bennett. Katie Mulligan is a guest of Melanie Ramey. Barb Regan is a guest of Brian Chan. Jim Schussler is a guest of Dewey Breedenson. Elizabeth Steinhoff is a guest of Becky Steinhoff. Elaine Rich is a guest of Chris Rich. Chandra Chauhan is a guest of the program committee. Jason Stein is a guest of the program committee. And Alec Pfeiffer is a guest of the program committee. Please join me in welcoming our guests.
Thank you, Joy, and welcome to all of our guests. It's great to have you here today with us. Thank you. All right, my number for the week is 156, and that number represents the number of committee meetings we've had since July 1st of last year. I don't think I've gone to all 156, but it feels like it sometimes. So that averaged to over 4 per week, and it's great to see how many active committees that we have as we connect, grow, and serve together. And that leads to the next agenda item, where incoming President Charles McClymans will come up and talk about planning for committees and fellowship groups for the upcoming Rotary year. Charles, welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sure you all received a wonderful email from Jane yesterday asking you to sign up for your committees and fellowship groups for the next year. You can do that via email, but in case you didn't see that email, you can get one of these wonderful forms for committees and fellowship groups in the back of the room, and you can fill it out right now. You can even invite the mayor to come to a fellowship group if you want, or a friend or family member. They are welcome. And so please use this opportunity to sign up for all of these wonderful committees and fellowship groups that we have for the next year. Thanks.
Thank you, Charles. We should have done them back to back. Okay. That's up to you if you want. We'll go. Okay. We'll get you back up. All right. Our Rotary Information Committee provides occasional historic reports about Rotary topics. Today, Susan Schmitz is going to come up and share some insights about the Rotary magazine and Rotary in general. Welcome to the podium, Susan.
Thank you, Paul. I first want to give a personal hello to my two friends, Gloria, Reyes, and Mayor Satya Rhodes-Conway. It's really good to have you here. So yes, hello, everyone. And I'm not here, as Paul said, to give a report, just to share some thoughts with my friends in the room. And I've been fortunate to be part of this amazing club for 33 years. My involvement over the years has always been good, but it has ebbed and flowed. But every few years, there is something that sparks my involvement and reminds me how proud I am to be a Rotarian. It happened recently when I read the February Rotary magazine and read an article, Life During Wartime, by Wen Huang. He writes for the magazine. He traveled to Europe to see firsthand how Rotary members are responding to the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine and how the Rotarians in Poland are stepping up. I was enthralled in his report, and it made me so proud to be a Rotarian, part of Rotary International. What we are doing in Poland is almost beyond service. It is true sacrifice and empathy for others. I did check with myself, if we were to face a major tragedy in our community, would we as a club step up like our fellow Rotarians in Poland? My answer is yes, and that is why I love being a Rotarian. Just one thing, especially newer members, I encourage you to read the monthly Rotary magazine. It will make you proud to be a Rotarian and for what Rotarians do locally and internationally. Thank you.
A huge shout out to Susan for 33 years of being a Rotarian in our club and all you've done and recruited all the people you recruited. Fantastic. Thank you, Susan. All right. Charles McClymans, I invite you back up again. Just as you were sitting down, to get you back up here again. But he serves on our Member Recognition Committee, and he's going to come back up and give an award presentation. Charles?
I'll get my exercise after lunch. I serve on the Member Recognition Committee, and I'm pleased to introduce a member who is receiving the 2023 Rotary Club of Madison Club Service Award. This recognition is part of our 5 Avenue of Service Awards program, which recognizes members for their efforts on behalf of our Rotary Club in one of the 5 avenues of service, which are club, community, international, vocational, and youth service. Becky Steinhoff joined our Rotary Club in 2009. She is currently Executive Director of PRL Keystone Foundation and is former Executive Director of the Goodman Community Center. Becky is a service-minded person, and in her 14 years in our club, she's provided an incredible amount of service. She has been on the Button Box, Caring, Community Projects, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Ethics Symposium, Hospitality, Rotary Youth Exchange, Swarsensky Award, and Youth Award committees. She co-chaired our Fund Drive Committee. She has mentored Rotary Scholars, and she just started a 3-year term on our Scholarship Committee. Becky has also served on our club board of directors. It's quite a long list of involvement, Becky. And it is for her dedicated service that Becky is receiving the 2023 Rotary Club of Madison Club Service Award. Yes. Well done, well done, Becky. The club has made a $200 gift in your name to the Rotary International Foundation as part of this recognition, and Becky has come forward, and we will present the certificate and a special pin to recognize for this award, and congratulations.
You and Charles, and I maybe come on down here.
Totally my honor.
Wow, couldn't put a better choice. Fantastic. Thank you, Charles, and congratulations, Becky. Well deserved. Really appreciate all you do for our club and the community. All right, we've got birthdays to celebrate with a bit of humor or wisdom that complements Rotary's mission. We also encourage members to make a gift to our foundation's Community Grants Endowment Fund that represents their age, rounded up to 100 for our Synergy Scholarship Fund. On March 19th, past President Perry Henderson. March 19th, Dan Larson. Sorry about that, Dan. March 19th, past President Tim Stottleman. March 21st, Peter Gray. And Peter has a question. If a Rotarian lives long enough to make a birthday gift to the Madison Rotary Foundation and round down to 100, do they get paid extra from the fund? No, you start again at 0 and you pay an extra 100. Isn't that how that works, I think, Peter? That's awesome. March 21st, Tim Muldowney. March 23rd, Joan Collins. March 23rd, Janine O'Rourke. March 24th, Tanya Letman-Shu. March 24th, past President Regina Milner, who says, the second day of spring, or let's hope so, right? March 25th, Jim Christensen. And March 25th, Rebecca Dopart. And thanks to all of our celebrants for their contributions to the Madison Rotary Foundation. And please join me in wishing them a happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rotarians. Happy birthday to you. Awesome. Happy birthday, and thank you, Casey. All right, today's program will feature Madison mayoral candidates incumbent Satya Rhodes-Conway and challenger Gloria Reyes. We thank them for appearing at our luncheon today, and Jason Stein, Vice President and Research Director of the Wisconsin Policy Forum and former Capitol reporter of the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel and the Wisconsin State Journal, will be serving as moderator for our forum, and we thank him for assisting today. I would now ask the candidates and Jason to please move up to the head table, and then we'll turn the program over to Jason. Welcome. Welcome, Jason.
Okay, can everyone hear me all right? Okay, well, thank you to the candidates and to all of you Rotarians for having us here today. It's been, see many friends and colleagues out there in the audience. To just go over quickly what we will be doing, we will have a 3-minute opening remarks from both candidates, and then we will have a Q&A section with questions presented and submitted by the Rotarians. And then we'll have a final closing remarks of 3 minutes each, all moderated by our able timekeeper, Steve Goldberg. And the candidates will be coming up to the podium and remaining there for 2 questions. So, to start out, we did do a little drawing of numbers beforehand, and the mayor will begin.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. And I have to say, it's a little bit of an improvement to be able to sit over there. 4 years ago, you had us sit right behind the podium when we weren't speaking at it. So thank you for changing the format. I appreciate that. And honestly, let me just start by saying thank you to all of you. It's always a joy to walk into Rotary and to see so many familiar faces, so many friends, and so many people who make such an incredible difference in our community. So thank you for your service to our community in all of the ways that that service manifests. It's perhaps obvious, but I'm Satya Rhodes-Conway. My pronouns are she, her, and I'm the mayor of Madison. It's been my honor to serve as your mayor over the past 4 years, which have been very difficult times for our community. 4 years ago, when I stood at this podium, I asked for your support, and I'm here again to ask for your support in the April 4th election. I ran on a platform 4 years ago of bringing housing, and particularly affordable housing, to our community, of finally accomplishing a rapid transit system, tackling climate change, and infusing racial equity into everything that the city does. I'm proud to say that we have worked on all 4 of those priorities despite a global pandemic. I'm also proud to say that we have kept our community safe through that global pandemic, and in particular, collaborated very closely with the county and County Executive Joe Parisi. Together, the county executive and I, and I'm very proud to have his endorsement, achieved one of the highest vaccination rates in the country here in Dane County. In the wake of the pandemic, our community faces new challenges, and we've been working hard on those challenges in the mayor's office, including public safety, traffic safety, equitable economic development, and investing in young people. I hope we'll have a chance to talk about all of these things today, but I know that our time is short, and I appreciate you accommodating our busy schedules as candidates. And so if we don't get to talk about the issue that is most important to you, I invite you to reach out to me directly if you have questions. I also invite you to learn more about my campaign at satyaformadison.com. And let me end by saying, and perhaps it doesn't need to be said in this room, but just in case, please vote on or before April 4th. This is a critical election for our state and for our community. There are many important things on the ballot. I do hope you will vote for me, but there are also aldermanic races, there are referenda, there's the school board race, and most importantly, there's the state Supreme Court race. So please, whoever you vote for, make sure you're voting on or before April 4th. Thank you all so much for being here today.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's so great to be here. Rotarians, I was a former Rotarian, and it feels really good to be up here on stage and at this time and running for mayor. My name is Gloria Reyes, and I'm running to be your next mayor. I'm running because I care about the residents of this city, and I'm concerned about its future. I grew up in Madison. My parents were migrant farm workers. They traveled across the country. And, you know, I was born in Watoma, Wisconsin, and they came here during the Cesar Chavez movement, fighting for better wages and living conditions for hardworking families across the United States and right here in Wisconsin. And so when they came to Madison, they didn't expect to get what they saw. They loved Madison. They loved the Capitol. They walked down State Street. My parents tell me about the story about, you know, going on Bascom Hill and talking about how education was going to be our way out of poverty. And so I spent my entire career. I went to Madison East High School, went to UW-Madison, spent my entire career in public service. I wanted to become a police officer because I wanted to impact change. I wanted to build trust and relationships with our communities of color in the Madison Police Department. And then I got an opportunity to serve as deputy mayor for 5 years. And then, against all odds, the city of Madison voted to elect the first Latina to serve on the Madison School Board. And then just 1 year on, my colleagues appointed me to serve as board president during the most tumultuous times in recent history, during the pandemic, during the social unrest of George Floyd. And I stood up alongside Dr. Jenkins and Superintendent Belmore at the time to really transition us into virtual learning, taking care of our families and our children during a very challenging time. I made one of the most difficult decisions, set aside my own beliefs about officers in schools to ensure that we, you know, at a time where it was really critical, it was a tough time, And throughout that time, I served as CEO of Briar Patch Youth Services to ensure that young people had a safe place to go. For the past few years, people have asked me to run for mayor because they were promised change 4 years ago and they didn't get change. And they want a leader with experience who cares about the residents of this city. And so I hope that you, when you go to that ballot on April 4th, that you vote Gloria Reyes for mayor. Thank you.
Okay, and Gloria, if you would remain. Okay, our first question from Rotarians is a basic but I think important one, and that is, how can the mayor, the council, and the rest of city government work together to deliver the best results for citizens? And to that, I think, why don't you also speak to how you believe things are working right now?
So I think things are not working right now with the city council and the relationship with its mayor. I strongly believe as a leader that you need diverse perspectives on the city council. And you can't have a city council that really, the majority controls what the direction of where the mayor wants to go. We need diversity of thought, diversity of experiences. And as a leader, we need the council to see the bigger vision of our city and devise strategies of how we get there. Really think about training them. Equity, we talk about racial equity in this city all the time. We have to realize equity and implement equity in everything we do, particularly on the city council floor. They need to be fiscally responsible, and they need to understand how their decisions are impacting our budgets in the future. And so a progressive mayor really values and is fiscally responsible to ensure that we are able to invest in community services and the needs of our residents. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. It's a good one. One of the most important pieces of work in my time leading the city is to build strong relationships that allow us to collaborate both within City Hall but across our community. And you know, there's a reason that we have the balance of powers, right? So that you have the executive and then you have the legislative, and you have staff who are really tasked with being experts and with implementing the policy that the executive and the legislative set. And I think that is working really well in city government right now. We have incredible staff. I am proud to be endorsed by more than a majority of the city council. We have a really good working relationship. It's been a very tough time to be on the city council, frankly, and particularly for those alders that came in during the pandemic. They were literally sworn in on Zoom. But we have made, I think, a lot of progress in our working relationships and accomplished some really impressive things in our time on housing, on transit, on climate, on equity, on public safety. We don't always agree, and that's good. But we are able to work together for the betterment of our community, and I'm proud of the collaborations that we've built with the city council, with city staff, but also with the county, with the school district, with the UW, with United Way, with other important organizations in our community over the course of the pandemic, and those collaborations continue on today in our post-pandemic world.
Okay, and if the mayor, if you would remain. So our second question, affordable housing has been, one of the preeminent issues in the campaign. This Rotarian question has a very specific part of that. Would like you to speak to single-family housing and what can be done to keep that affordable.
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one of the biggest challenges. I want to just put it in context. When I came into office, I discovered that our housing market had been underproducing housing for years. We had not been keeping up with population growth, and we were about 4,000 units behind. And we need to be producing about 2,000 units a year to keep up with population growth. So given that fact, and given the fact that the city's boundaries are broadly set, we need to be looking at producing every single type of housing that we possibly can. And my administration has, I think, made some bold moves to increase the production of housing in our community. Specifically to single-family housing, the issue we have right now that because of land costs and construction costs, it's very difficult to produce affordable single-family housing in the city of Madison. So we are still building single-family homes. That's happening every day in Madison, but we also need to be producing other opportunities for first-time home buyers, whether that's condos, whether that's attached housing, townhomes, the like. We need first-time homebuyers to have the opportunity to remain in Madison. And that is something that my administration is actively working on, to provide those opportunities to folks and to provide them in an equitable way, while we are also working on producing housing more generally, so we have housing choice in every neighborhood, and while we're working on producing affordable housing units so everyone can afford to live in Madison.
So, as mayor, I will roll back the most recent unrelated parties zoning that went through the council. It just doesn't give us what we need. And I think that the difference between myself and my experience and the mayor is that she's really policy driven. And you know, you have to understand how policy is translated into action and those unintended consequences. And so this is really an unintended consequence. It could go both ways. If you look at what happened in Minneapolis in 2018, it really didn't do much. I mean, I think they actually eliminated all zoning for single-family homes. And less than 100 homes were built. It really doesn't give us what we need. As mayor, I'm going to develop a housing advisory team. I'm going to lead this effort and bring realtors, developers, reinvigorate our planning councils that will involve resident voice and really planning the future of development in our city. Look for land. Really focus on land banking that's already open. Look for buildings that are not being used. Like the Westgate Mall that we worked on when I was in the mayor's office, that's doing the development now with housing. You know, we need to use CDBG funds and housing fund. I really want a focused universalism approach. It's an equity approach where we are building housing based on the needs of the residents of the city. And really targeted strategies to help support our low-income communities. Thank you.
Okay, and then if you would remain. So our next Rotarian question deals with the fact, and this is a news flash for everyone, we're on an isthmus right now, and it's, and it's narrow, as it turns out. And given that we do have that constraint, and we have a growing city, how do we keep congestion down? How do we keep our transportation options strong? And if you could, in speaking to that, could you also speak to people across the income spectrum, both people at the bottom and the top, that they have strong transportation options in our city?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we do need a transit system that works. I do agree with the mayor that the one that we had was not equitable, but the one we're building is not equitable. My concern about the current transit system and the rapid redesign is that we didn't start from an equity lens, an equity viewpoint, right? An analysis. We waited until the project was done, and we hired the same consultant that did the rapid redesign to do the evaluation of the equity analysis, which is a conflict of interest. I mean, we really need to ensure that we have transit system that works for everyone, our most vulnerable communities. I have been out in the community for the past 4 months talking to people, our disability community, our people of color, hardworking people who have gone to these council meetings and transportation meetings who are lost, and they're really concerned. I got involved because they were moving the bus stop in front of this Briar Patch Youth Services. These are our most vulnerable young people who come at all hours of the night asking for a shelter, and they moved that bus stop. We really need a transit system that works. Every mayor has wanted a BRT. I support a bus rapid transit system, but we also have to be very intentional to ensure that we serve our most vulnerable communities in our city and also be fiscally responsible. The reason why we haven't had the bus rapid transit system for years is because we couldn't do it, and it was going to be a tax burden for our residents. And so coming out of the pandemic, ridership is low.
So to actually answer your question, we do in fact live on an isthmus, and that fact defines so many things about our transportation system and frankly our land use as well. And when I came into office and we started looking at what kind of transportation policy we needed, we started with the fact that we are already experiencing congestion through the isthmus. And if you take it as a given that you don't want to tear down buildings, which I hope everybody agrees, your only option is to figure out how to give people transportation choices, particularly through the isthmus. And that is why my administration has finally brought rapid transit to the city of Madison. Because if we want to reduce congestion, we have to make it possible for people who are able to, who want to, who need to use transit efficiently and effectively to get them where they want to go quickly. We also have to make it possible for folks to make choices to walk, or to take a bike. I'm proud that we have maintained our platinum biking status and achieved gold walking status during my administration. And of course, we need to make it safe and easy for people to drive as well. And that's really what my administration has focused on, is creating transportation choices so that we can avoid a situation where we have terrible traffic congestion through the isthmus and throughout our community. It's one of our #1 priorities.
Great. There you
Right
go.
here.
There you go. We're slowly getting this
We'll
down.
figure it out.
So one of the things that you do not actually have to take responsibility for as mayor is the search for a new superintendent for our school district. However, you have leadership and you have a voice, and this Rotarian would like to know, what would you like to see in that superintendent? And to that, I would also add on my part, what things, if any, could the city do to partner with the school district and produce better education?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thank you. And shout out to Dr. Jenkins. If I had the power to do anything, I would wave a magic wand and make him stay. But I don't have that power. We've had a really, I think, good relationship with the school district during my tenure, starting actually with Superintendent Cheatham, interim Superintendent Belmore, and then Dr. Jenkins. I have good relationships with the school board. I'm proud to be endorsed by School Board President Ali Muldrow. And the School Board President and I actually have had this conversation specifically about how the city can be more involved in the process of recruiting and choosing the next superintendent. And so I have offered my full support to the board in this process to showcase Madison as a place that people want to come so that we can attract top talent. We're losing top talent, but I want to attract more top talent, and that I personally would be more engaged in the process of choosing the next superintendent. I think it's really important because schools are obviously a critical piece of our community. We have a good working relationship, I think, all across the board. One of the things that I'm really proud of is that we provided free bus passes to middle school and high school students during the summertime. They have access to them during the school year, but they didn't during the summertime, so we made that happen. Our safety staff, our violence prevention unit, our police meet regularly with the school safety staff and have addressed issues. So I'm proud of the working relationship we have and that we will build.
So I get to take credit for hiring Dr. Jenkins as school board president. So I actually went through two superintendent processes. One was during the pandemic when it just first hit. We made a hire just before, and then the gentleman that we hired didn't want to leave during the pandemic. He was coming from Texas, and so. I think the city needs to do so much more. I mean, I think our education, our public schools need our support. And not just meeting once a month, not just, we have to really be collaborative and intentional about the safety of our schools and our children and families outside of school. I want to reinvigorate Madison out of school time. It's an effort that we started years ago, having programs after school for our young people. Our reading within our Black children is really low, and my goal is to really bring reading centers into our neighborhoods to help our schools. I want to be a true leader. During the superintendent searches, we were very collaborative, but the city was not at the table. And I really want to, this go around, is have somebody who is part of the panel, who is actively involved in the superintendent search, if the board would allow that. I think that that's very important. We did that with MTI and other organizations who participated in the search.
Okay, and if you would remain. Gloria mentioned public safety during that answer, and the next question deals directly with that. this Rotarian would like to know whether the law enforcement in Madison currently has adequate resources and whether other steps more broadly that could be taken to improve public safety and lower crime.
Yeah, I'm really concerned about public safety and supporting and ensuring the Madison Police Department gets the tools that they need to do their jobs. We are still in this sort of narrative about defunding police. And, you know, as a leader, I understand where that's coming from and really supporting community organizations and uplift them. And I actually did that as deputy mayor. As a law enforcement officer, uplift community approaches. When I was in the mayor's office, I started the public health response to violence. I started the Focus Interruption Coalition and really dealing with violence in our community and worked with them. Yes, public safety is critical. Body cameras, I don't understand why we have not passed body cameras. I mean, it's about time. I was in the mayor's office when we did a whole study within the police department. We did a thorough community engagement about body cameras. Body cameras allows transparency and trust in our community and training. And we can't get there with this council and this mayor. We have to really move the needle, and we have to get away from this narrative about defunding police. Well, and we can do both, right? Uplift community and defunding police. It's not an either or. And we need a leader in a mayor that's going to direct and guide the city council on these really important issues. Our population is growing, and we need a safe community, and we need officers to be able to help us through this.
Public safety is obviously a top priority for any city, and it's certainly a top priority for my administration. I'm really proud of the work that our chief, Sean Barnes, has done. We had a very difficult time through the pandemic, and every community across this country saw spikes in a particular set of crimes: gun violence, car thefts, and traffic crashes. And you know, the chief came in and with resources that I gave him in my budget, hired a new person to do data analysis and strategic planning. And that effort is having a really positive impact in our community. I want to be clear, no shots fired are acceptable. But if you look year over year, shots fired are down almost 40% in our community. Traffic crashes are down. Stolen cars are down. I just got new data from the chief yesterday. This year to date shows even more progress on all of those fronts. So the work that we are doing, and I give all credit to Chief Barnes and the police department in this, is having an impact. We need to continue that work. We need to continue to move things off of the police department's plate to free them up to do what they do best, which is to address violent crime and violence in our community. That's why I started the CARES program that is dispatched by 911, sends a community paramedic and a mental health crisis worker to all behavioral and mental health crisis calls, so we don't have to use a squad car for those calls. That program's been immensely successful. There's lots more to say.
Okay, so this is our final question in the Q&A, so it's a twofer. We had one Rotarian that wanted to know what your greatest accomplishment or proudest moment was in office, and then another asked, what would you have done differently? Mm-hmm. So we'll put both those questions to you, and Gloria, when you address this, you could speak to both the school board and your time as deputy mayor. Go ahead.
Thank you. Those are great questions. I always love this because it's so hard to choose. I think in terms of what I might have done differently, I really wish that I had pressed harder on the city council to give the city more communications capacity, because I think that during the pandemic that became really critical for us, and we just didn't have the staffing that we needed. We did the best we could, and I have to give a big shout out to the folks at Public Health that do communications, because they did a great job, but I do wish that we had had more communications capacity through the pandemic. In terms of a proudest moment, very hard to choose, but I think I will lift up the fact that during my time as mayor, we have approved 15,000 new units of housing, and hundreds of those have been affordable housing. So we are making progress on what I believe to be one of the most significant challenges facing the city of Madison right now. I said it before, but I'll say it again. It is so critical that everyone be able to live and afford to live in the city of Madison. We cannot be a city where folks who are teachers, are baristas, are bus drivers, are firefighters can't afford to live in the city. So we have to be creating more housing. We have to be creating more affordable housing. And my administration is getting that done.
So my proudest moment, I guess, I don't know, it's really weird in the public safety climate. I think as deputy mayor, I think after Tony Robinson's shooting, we had significant protests across the city and across the country. And as I'm sitting there with Mayor Soglin, we were talking about what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And so I said we need to bring the community in. We needed to bring the community in, and so from there we established the Law Enforcement Leaders of Color collaboration through United Way. And we went out and we walked with them. And that was one of my proudest moments because we were able to de-escalate and intervene and prevent damage to property. And I think what I would have done differently years later, George Floyd happened. I was the school board president at the time. And I was sitting on TV and I watched the destruction of State Street and the protests across our city. And I felt useless. I couldn't do it. I didn't know what to do. I wish I would have called and activated the United Way Law Enforcement Leaders of Color collaboration earlier. But we had, at that time, a lack of leadership, and I just had to step in and mobilize. And we were out there every night intervening and protecting and ensuring that people were safe out there protesting.
All right. Well, my closing statement is I thank both candidates and all of you for caring enough about your city to come out here and participate. And now we will hear the two candidates' closing statements. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you. Thank you all again for being here. Remember to vote April 4th. I hope to garner your vote. This is a very important election. We have the mayoral election. We have the Supreme Court justice election on the ballot. I think Mayor Dave said it right in his bio, his blog, about how I'm the most experienced candidate who has ever run for Madison mayor. And I have devoted my entire career to the city of Madison because they gave my family and me an opportunity to thrive. And it is my opportunity. I strongly believe that Madison has prepared me to be in front of you today to run for Madison mayor. And so I hope to, again, garner your support. It is a very important election. We need a leader who is doesn't just understand policy, but has experience, who can lead and collaborate and listen to the residents of this city. And I am that leader. And it's time for change. We were promised change 4 years ago. We did not get change. It is time for a leader to step up when we have a crisis in our city. And I will do that. Thank you for your time.
Let me say thank you again to all of you for caring about the election, about this race in particular, and for all of the work that you all do in our community every day. It is, again, always a pleasure to be in a room with Rotarians, so thank you for your service. I do ask for your support in the April 4th election. Please vote on or before April 4th, and I think that my record in the past 4 years speaks for itself. I've led our community through a very difficult time, and in particular, proud of the work that we did in the pandemic, and I'm proud of the progress that we've made on housing, doubling the Affordable Housing Fund, creating hundreds of new affordable units and thousands of units of housing, finally getting rapid transit to come to Madison. We've brought in over $4 million in federal funding in the past 4 years alone. That's an unprecedented amount of money, and there is much more opportunity. I'm proud of my collaborative relationships with the county, with the state, and with the federal government. I'm proud to be endorsed by Congressman Mark Pocan, by Planned Parenthood, by Wisconsin Conservation Voters, by over half the city council and a good portion of the county board, and a number of leaders across our community, including some of you here in this room. Thank you for your support. I ask you for another 4 years because there is so much more to do. We cannot stop the progress that we've made on housing. We have to keep working on climate change. We need to continue the progress that we've made on public safety. We have to keep working to support our school district and particularly the young people that were impacted by the pandemic. And of course, we need to focus on equitable economic development. We haven't talked a lot about that, but I'm really proud of what my administration has done to support small businesses in our community, particularly businesses owned by women and people of color, to help them build wealth and close some of the disparities that our community experiences. And we've been working really hard to invest in neighborhoods. We have a $115 million investment coming in South Madison through the TID that just got approved. And we're working on all of the projects down there in collaboration with leaders in our community. There's so many exciting things happening. And the city has played a really important role in a lot of that work under my leadership. So I ask you again, give me another 4 years to get the job done and to keep working for our community. Thank you.
All right, first of all, thanks to Jason Stein for your moderation. Appreciate that and the time that you put into it, so thank you for that. Also want to say thank you to both the candidates. You know, we're really blessed to have two great, passionate people and leaders in our community to try to run Madison and what we're about in our whole future. So thank you for taking time to be in here today and sharing your thoughts. And I encourage, of course, everyone to get out and vote. So it's a really important election, as they said. I also want to point out to Dr. Jenkins, I don't know if you're still here to see where, oh, you just left? Dr. Jenkins, you don't have to leave Rotary. You can still be in Rotary. In fact, you'll have more time after he retires, right? So I wanted to encourage him to do that. Thank you, Steve Goldberg, for that. And I hope that you'll join us next week when we're going to hold the Supreme Court Candidate Forum. And just a quick reminder that we've invited both candidates, but only Justice Daniel Kelly accepted the invitation. We've offered Judge Potasewicz' campaign office to have her campaign materials and someone from her campaign office staffing a table at the March 29th meeting when Kelly appears. So I do hope you come out next week and support Rotary in our ability to have candidates come in. We've included our club policy on political candidate forums last week, so you can go back and reference that if you're wondering. But if you have any specific questions to submit for next week, please email your questions to the Rotary office by noon this Friday. And with that, I want to say thanks for coming out today, and thank you for being a Rotarian. It's a great place to be in the city of Madison. So with that, we are adjourned.